should get an award. Hi, everyone. Happy September. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'm... Welcome to Psychic.biz Live. This is quite an exciting time. The kids started school in Canada today, which was very exciting. Everyone had to stop to wait for the bus. Of course, this tells you that fall is coming up. I'm an emotional healer. I am a catalyst for change in your life. I can give myself a million other names. They all fall under emotional healer. I am with Psychic.biz. I am on sporadically, and I'm here with Aeson Knight. We are actually becoming a pretty cool team, I think. Don't you, Aeson? I think we're slowly melding and merging into a team here, which is kind of fun.
I think that we're doing awesome as a team. I think it's really cool, you know, and this happens. I mean, you know, you find those that just you click with and you grow with, and, you know, your energies flow well with each other. So you kind of snap together and get things moving. And, you know, the kids started here, I think about 3 weeks ago, but that's because of our winters. Yeah, they got their summers cut up. But, you know, now I have to plan the traffic patterns into my schedule because, you know, trips take a little bit longer. Yes. And for us, it's starting to get colder at nights. So fall is here.
Yes, it is. And we're going to talk about fall, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I like fall. Oh, I'm in love with fall. It's quite interesting. The beginning of fall makes me think about the caterpillar stopping its voracious eating and going into its chrysalis, you know, starting to spin that chrysalis around itself, starting to go into that dormancy for the transformation. And of course, we all know that when we go into that dormancy, there are changes that occur within our psyche, changes that occur within our body, within our psyche, within our spirit. So I love it. I love fall. Boy, and the spectacular colors.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You know, it's going to get gorgeous, you know, because we had a good wet summer here, luckily. So, you know, the foliage, hopefully I'll get some pictures. I'm going to try to get back out to this place that's a point here that you can actually see all the way into the canyon.
Wow.
Long Point. And I had done a video out there and some pictures out there in the spring and in the summer, so I'm going back to fall. Me and you are actually going to meet up this fall in October. Yes. We're going to be I'm going to fly up into Canada, and me and you are going to be doing an expo. Tell our watchers about the expo.
Yes, the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo. I did a show on my blog talk show, which is Change Your Mind, Shift Your Life Talk Radio. I did a show with Chandler Armstrong, who is one of the ones who run and own and run the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo. And the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo has been in business for over 20 years, which I think is just spectacular. I knew them as they just started. And their focus, Chandler is a master astrologer. He's a 5th generation master astrologer. And he, with his partner, Brad, Chandler Armstrong, Brad Simpson, get their names right. So Brad Simpson and Chandler Armstrong run I'm just looking up because my young one just came down the stairs. So pardon me there for a second. So they started this because they had an idea that the people in the wellness holistic industry needed to get together. They needed to work together. And so they created this umbrella. They struggled for a long time, but now they're actually spread across Canada and trying to get into the US in San Francisco. So it's a very beautiful place for people to connect, to meet each other, to meet the different practitioners who do various wellness work. So I think it's a very powerful environment for anyone. Even if you want to come across the border up to Canada, up to Ottawa. Ottawa is Canada's what do you call it? Like Washington, D.C. capital. Ottawa is Canada's capital. And if you want to come up and get to know us and hang out and, of course, have some maple syrup and experience all the work that we're doing, that's great. You know, several people, the guy who wrote the Four Agreements, Miguel Ruiz, he was part of the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo. Linda Evans, our bionic woman, she was part of the Body, Soul, Spirit Expo.
Wow.
Vicky, she, what is her name? She's probably going to be there. The Medicine Woman books. I just lost her name there. Vicky.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, they've had a lot of very, very powerful, very amazing people, writers, different practitioners. Von Prague has been in there, I believe. So they have all sorts of different people show up at the shows, which is kind of neat. But yeah, we're going to be there. We're the next generation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have a really good time there. I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be the highlight of my fall. Even though I'll still be doing some appearances, that'll be the highlight, and getting to come up there. This week, I'm going to be talking with, on the Psychic Coffee Shop, a guest too. I try to get authors in as often as I can. And we're going to be talking about 5 minutes, 5 times a day, instant energy guaranteed. We're going to be highlighting some misconceptions about it taking a lot of time and money to get healthy and vibrantly alive. A 5-year-old principle of incorporating health into a whole life. And Doc is really good. What is her real name? I call her Doc, but her real name is Dr. Marlena Joyce, and she's going to be on the Psychic Coffee Shop with us this week, and we'll be talking about her new book. Conversations with Aeson. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not till Saturday.
Yeah.
I've been trying to just kind of let spirit guide me. I mean, last week on the Psychic Coffee Shop, I think we talked about boundaries and, pushing boundaries. And, so coming into the fall, I'm going to move into that more relaxed state of things. I'm going to be, putting some things together. I'll be changing the office around like I do every year. Seems like I just changed this in May, but it's now for a new setup. And you just done your living room, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You put it into the winter setup? It's
kind of funny because when I was a child, and I think it's my parents' fault, when I was a child, my mom used to change the living room around practically every week. So I remember my dad walking in through the door, and he went to sit down and the sofa wasn't there. So I ended up on the floor because he was unconsciously gone to sit down, right? And so she continued to do that. When we lived in New York, we were living in one of these stunning brownstones, like 6-foot windows and just beautiful place. And she used to literally, and it was a rental place, she would strip the wood floors every spring and every fall and then re-shellac the floors. That's the kind of stuff she used to do. So unfortunately, it stuck with me, right? And when I got my own family, I started doing the same thing. So of course, in the house here, the furniture just kind of, it's in its fall position. The sofa is facing the fireplace, and now we can sit. All of us can sit and look out the window at the fall trees, because the little place here is surrounded by trees, so we can watch the tons of birds, the squirrels, the chipmunks. We finally saw one, and the rabbits that come in and such. So it's turned around to support fall, which is kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you make a place for a tree?
Well, not quite yet.
Not yet.
Well, I have a spot that my easel sits in,
Uh-huh.
and it's there because I don't know where else to put it. So if nothing else, the tree will end up there.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I know one of my um, young men are staying for Christmas. I don't know about. I have to double check if he's staying for Christmas, but otherwise, it's yeah. There'll be a spot for the tree. Maybe move the furniture around a little bit more so it sits in front of the window. I don't know, but we
uh,
just have to. Yeah, we just have to play it by ear and see. I'm yeah. What they say,
yeah.
the spirit moves you. When the spirit
Uh-huh.
moves me, I just move stuff around. So.
Well, I don't know if you guys do this up there, but we here, because the houses, they were built back in the 50s before I think they knew what insulation was.
Yes.
And I've not took the time to destroy the beautiful plaster to put insulation on.
Mhm.
So, probably around the end of September, we'll start shielding up the windows with plastic and sealing them
Yes.
up and
Yes.
putting on the heavy drapes. I'm looking forward to getting the drapes up because I love my drapery. But,
Yes.
if we put it up in the summertime, you get no sun. Um, so I'll be doing that soon. One of the things that I love is, start having more soups and stews during the winter
Yeah.
time. For some
I,
reason, the
yeah.
diet does that.
I'm not very fond of soup. I make really good soup, but it's not my favorite. Stews, maybe. I like,
Hmm.
if I have soup, it has to be chunky,
Oh yeah,
So, yeah. But
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I like.
Settling into fall is kind of nice. It gives me the opportunity to just relax and curl in and get all cozy and snuggly, and it's kind of interesting because since the kids have been here, the house feels more cozy because it's just been me, right, all the
Hmm.
time. So it's changed, the energy's changed quite a bit, so it's kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. It really is. I live in a multi-generational household
Yeah.
now. And I'll be, I'm in what was is the master bedroom. So I'm in the what was my parents' bedroom, and it's just weird. I mean, the house itself doesn't even look the same, because I came in and I'm like, oh, the paneling's got to go. I can't
Yes.
stand it anymore after 20 years of that dark paneling that had already turned into that even darker brown.
Mm-hmm.
That lost, it got lost in the 70s and then went back to like the 1900s. So I ripped
Mm-hmm.
that out and I've painted the house. But the house feels a lot different for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's weird because, I have my kitchen set up differently than my mother had the
Yes.
kitchen set up when she was the head cook
Yes.
and chief bottle washer. So, but I'll still find myself catching myself to reach for a spoon, and it's where the pot holders
In
are.
the wrong, yeah, yeah.
It's the wrong drawer, and I'm like, oh,
That's nice, I think.
yeah,
I think it's that memory. It's very
it
sweet,
is. And
you know.
for me, it is that this is where it's always been, or this is how it's always been, type
Mhm.
thing. And I think I get more in that into the fall because during the summer we're up, we're moving, we're going, we're
Mhm.
traveling, and then at the fall it's like, okay, we got to get ready for Thanksgiving. We got to figure out where the world we're going to hang our tree at. Which this year I'm thinking about hanging our tree on the ceiling fan. That way I don't have to move the furniture twice. But we'll see. I don't know if I'll get by with that one. Um,
That's a new one. That's fantastic, actually. I love it. You have to send me a picture.
that's if I get to do it. Michael may veto it, but I've seen these trees that are totally reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they hang off
Wow.
the ceiling. I think that I may want to try to do that. If not, I'll send pictures. I'll do pictures of in house tour when I do that up.
Yeah.
Um, there was a little bit of controversy this week, and
Yeah.
people choose the craziest stuff to get controversial over.
Yeah.
And apparently, Starbucks is making the news again because they brought out their pumpkin spice lattes in September. And I'm like, and they don't taste that good anyhow.
I don't like pumpkin anything, and pumpkin spice even less. Don't even try me with pumpkin pie,
Mm.
although I make really, really, really good pumpkin pie. I never taste it as I'm cooking it, but it always turns out beautifully. But I would not be in that controversy. 'Cause
Uh,
pumpkin spice. You know what? If people, because I think pumpkins are starting to come out to get
mhm.
ripe now.
Yep, they
Um,
are.
yeah, so why not? What are you
Yeah.
gonna do with all those pumpkins if not make pumpkin spice? You
You
know?
make jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkin butter and
Yeah,
apple pumpkin
yeah,
butter,
yeah.
and you stock it up for the winter and you feed it to the cattle so they gain a little weight. Um,
Oh,
See,
really?
that's
That's
one thing
very
I don't
cool.
plant that much of is pumpkin because we don't use it that often.
Yeah, I do, it's not my, I mean, my grandmother's pumpkin soup is out of this world delicious. But again, it's not, uh, I
Hmm.
don't know why. I just, it's that orange chakra color, right? Which is what fall is all about. Fall is about creativity and passion and all that stuff. But
Honey,
it's
if you
not
get any
fun.
more of that, we're going to have to like get seatbelts for your desk chair.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, because, how many books are you writing right now?
Oh, quite a few. And I'm doing my memoir, My Life as a Psychic. Oops. Now that I say it out loud, I'm trying not to say the title. My daughter insisted that I write that book because I talk about some weird thing that I experienced. And she's like, Mom, you really should write this stuff. Nobody'd believe it, all the stuff that I experienced. So I'm working on that, and I'm working on it's requires research, and which is funny because Vietnam's just come up again. It's a book about retribution, healing, about two men who went to Vietnam, and during the My Lai massacre, they ended up
Hmm.
back in the U.S. and one stayed and went through all this stuff, and the other one ran away to Canada, which a lot of them did, to and became an RCMP officer. So the two, one's life took a tragic end, and his son is left with it, and then the other one is trying to right wrongs. So it's a very interesting story, and they all collide in a house with a strange backyard.
Hmm. That'll be interesting.
I think so. It feels interesting anyway. I think I need to go away to write it though.
Another world tour.
Now, wouldn't that be something? But if I do a world tour, I can't write because I'm busy getting up and down. I remember getting really ticked off when the phone rang when I was writing, so I'd unplug the phone because it
Oh,
stops my
goodness.
train of thought, right? And
Yeah.
it takes me a while to get back to it. So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, has anyone joined us in
Oh,
the?
yeah. We've got Pug Mom in, and there's a few others in. I'm looking, we are taking questions tonight.
Yeah, we are. All
Um,
questions.
it's interesting that you bring up Vietnam,
Mhm.
because I have this theory, and it's one of those ones I've not got to research.
Mhm.
But you know how that we talk about certain areas always being in war status?
Mhm.
Vietnam, the Middle East,
Cambodia. Yeah.
Cambodia,
Mhm.
Nicaragua, um, the Baltic.
Mhm.
I think it's the energy of the land. Because as you know,
Yeah.
Native Americans, there were certain parts of the land that Native Americans wouldn't live on. They
Mhm.
would have nothing to do with. They wouldn't
Mhm.
even hunt there.
Mhm.
And, I often think about what if it's really true that we've got that issue with the land, and, there's just areas that humans need to just move off of. Because if
Yeah,
you've traveled the world, and everywhere has a different energy flow to it.
that's true. It's funny because one of the things I saw in 1996, because I did a lot of meditation. While people were taking drugs, I was meditating like crazy. And they showed me this massive crystal, like a quartz crystal, you know, the size of a, I don't know, good 10 feet across and such. And they showed me it, there's a space in between the crust and the of the planet and, you know, somewhere in the middle there in the earth, and it moves around, and wherever it moves to, it augments the energy of the people that live above it. So if people are angry in that area, it augments the anger. If people are violent, it augments the violence. And it's interesting because where I live, it sits on what they call the Canadian Shield, which is a massive rock, very, very, very ancient rock. So whatever, you know, and I can almost hear that hollow sound with, you know, you hit certain rocks and there's a tinging sound.
Right.
And so it's like whatever fear, whatever emotions people carry in that particular environment gets augmented. It's like an echo reverberating on itself. So that's the sense that I get about these places. And when I went traveling, which was again quite a strange thing, I was told that I was pulling light. So, you know, the light grids on the planet.
Right.
So when I traveled from Vancouver, it was interesting, and I took a globe and pinned the areas that I went. But I traveled from Vancouver and I went to Japan, and then I went from Japan to Sydney. And then in Australia, I zigzagged all over the place, went to Ayers Rock and such. And it was very interesting to see. And then on the way back, I stopped off in Hawaii before I came back to Canada. So it was interesting. I found the places that I went, each spot was where the ley lines met, right? So I was pulling. So those of us who do this work, when we travel, we're literally pulling light from where we are to the next to the place that we go to. So us coming together, meeting in Ottawa, it's like a meeting of all those energy lines into this one dot, you know, that little bubble, which is pretty powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but Art Bell does a test one time, and now the Magic Happen does it every quarter, where they do a meditation, or you know, with what Art Bell's thing was to send out one thought for 20 minutes, and he had all his thousands of listeners around the world do that. And the energy of it just blew. I mean, it just blew right up. Crime levels went down. Major events stopped happening. I mean, it was like the news went silent for that one day. And, you know, Magic Happens research has continued on this topic, and they find that, you know, the days that they have the world meditation for peace, but, you know, stuff goes down. Stuff stops happening. War goes quiet. Casualties are less. You know, so it kind of makes a lot of sense. And it also, that theory of, you know, that giant quartz crystal makes sense also, because what happens with it is, and I've had the theory about West Virginia and why I'm here, because I've been everywhere. I've been to LA. I've, you know, was there for a while. I moved to Columbus, but I'm always coming back to here. And, you know, as you know, West Virginia has a lot of coal mining, but we also have a lot of quartz here, which captures a lot of energy. And, you know, I think that's why a lot of people tend up returning back to that, is that same energy flow, because, you know, people will move out of state 10, 15 years and end up coming right back here for one reason or another. So that makes sense. And also the floating quartz makes sense in the magnetite, because if you notice, when we have earthquakes, like we had that massive one in Italy. Now watch, we'll have another one in Japan, and then another one will probably hit the U.S. Because it's all within that same flotational thing. You know,
It's funny how the thing I don't understand is how scientists and spiritual people and all sorts of people are talking about global warming and the planet and all this stuff. It's almost like, you know, there's a stampede. Someone's there in the path of the stampede. They're busy doing what they're doing. Someone yells, "There's a stampede." They look up. Oh yeah, there's a stampede, and they go back to doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's a stampede, and they go back until the stampede overtakes them. I'm not sure I understand why. It's a strange thing. It's like we are, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we're
Well,
deaf, blind, and dumb to what's going on the planet and around us. And actually, talking about Vietnam, I watched a documentary about Indochina and the you know, severe energy and such. And Vietnam was actually destroyed by bombs and all sorts of stuff. And since that, it had actually bounced back. So it had bounced back and became like the people, you know, practically gone except for those who hung out in the caves. And the animals they thought were all destroyed. And it turned out that the animals had actually found places to hidey hole in till everything was done. And now the animals that they thought were extinct started coming out, right? So
right.
the planet doesn't need us. I mean, Conservation International is doing this with the different actors' voices, you know, that says, "We don't need you, I don't need you," you know, that sort of thing. The planet doesn't need us. It will bounce back if we're not here. We need to
Right.
recognize that we're trying to save ourselves, not the planet, when we talk the way we do, you know?
Well, I'm going to be unpopular here for a moment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you know, it's me. I have a thought on this. The
Yes,
planet naturally heats and cools herself.
that's right.
She's been doing this for centuries. She
Mm-hmm.
decides she wants to have a summer at 105 and
Mm-hmm.
she's going to tan her left arm. She'll do that.
Yes.
Um, Global warming, I think, is another thing that, you know, we have created to make ourselves man important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not man important, it's planet going, I think I want to feel a little warmer. So I'm
Yeah,
going to pipe up the heat.
that's right.
Um, it's kind of like if you remember back in the late 70s, early 80s, we had that hole in the ozone layer over the
Oh,
Arctic,
yeah.
and it was going to melt the glacier and fry the world. So we
Mm-hmm.
all had to get rid of our hairspray. We
I
went,
didn't use any, but
um, but you know, within like 5 years, they go back and they check, and there's no hole again. And it's like, okay, where did it just go? I think it was natural. I think it was a natural hole in the ozone. I mean, think about it. If you're wearing a pair of pants that locks, you know, if you're wearing a snowsuit, you've got to open up that snowsuit to let some of that crap out of there, or you'll
Mhm.
roast yourself.
That's right.
Same thing with Mama Nature. I mean, you know, the Earth itself is doing its own cycles.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think that it is a lot of marketing. I think that it is a lot of ploy to drive certain industries higher. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
think about it. If we're using fossil fuels, which there is more than enough to have, the price is going to go down. But
Mm-hmm.
if we're using this new unsustainable technology, the price of that technology goes up. So let's create a chasmic to have it, and then let's get
Mm-hmm.
everyone to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm unpopular. You can hate me. Feel free. My email is somewhere around the channel. I will take your hate mail.
Yeah.
Um,
I think people know what you say is true.
yeah, but I'll,
Yeah.
you know, because you get those obsessive people that are all over this global warming thing. Like they're like totally against the advancement of cars. They're totally against the advancement
Mm.
of power. But yet they have power in their house that isn't solar. Um, but it's just, I don't know. it tends to me, it's like another media event, and I just kind of like roll my eyes with it and go on. But coming into fall, that's when you start looking at these things. You catch up on those news stories that you haven't watched, you haven't paid much attention to. I go into research mode. That's a lot of times when I'm popping out most of my creative work. Hopefully we'll get chapter 2 of Jezebel wrote. We'll see. I got to get onto Sonia's thing of, what is it, 2,000 words a day that you write?
I do 200. I started 200. I was doing 2,000, but it was a lot. Well, I got, the phone would ring halfway through and then I'd get frustrated. So I decided to write 200 words, a different story each morning. So not related, just writing a different story, making up a new story each morning, 200 words, short story. Yeah, cool. So it's been very interesting. And then I put it in a number each one in a folder. And of course, when I use my iPad to type, I type 300 words, which is interesting, right? So you try to type 200 words, you'll end up typing 2,000. If you say you're going to type 2,000, you'll end up typing 200.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you've also started doing something, is it on Wednesdays?
Oh, yes. I'll be teaching meditation with seniors, volunteering with seniors in Brockville here.
Yeah.
On Wednesdays. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah. Okay. Here's a question for you.
Yes.
Have the generations that were, because back in the 50s, 60s, meditation was this, weird thing. And I mean, you had people coming out against it. You had scientists going crazy. And now that we're, of that age, we've passed that era and gone into a different era. Now it's becoming like part of medical practices, part of now senior programs. Do you think it's because the generation has now moved up that started working with meditation, or do you think that we're just starting to really see the full spectrum of it?
I think people have always meditated, and that's how I teach it, actually, because when people come to me as, ooh, this is what, I said, well, do you pray? They said, yes. I said, that's meditation. Oh, or your husband goes and he goes fishing. Does he bring home any fish? No. Well, he's meditating. So anything that you do, you sit in silence and you contemplate your navel, that's meditation. Then you can go beyond that into transcendental meditation or mindful meditation where you close your eyes and, and they say, but I always fall asleep. I said, but I guarantee you wake up when the meditation is about to end. They say, yeah. I said, you weren't sleeping, you were meditating. You're actually unplugging your mind, because if you're attached to your mind, you'll think through the meditation. But if your mind has gone to sleep, if it's relaxed, you won't remember, you won't see anything, you won't notice anything. And I think in saying it that way, it's been a lot easier to bring it out to people. When I was in Vancouver for 3 years, I taught meditation to seniors. And I had a lot of seniors who'd come in who would never, they couldn't sleep. They had sleep issues. And after they went through meditation, their sleep was better. I can't believe it. I slept the whole night. Or, this was happening and it's changed. So meditation just causes us to stop worrying. We don't worry so much anymore. And I think with me using that approach, not making it so woo-woo, Australian word for woo-woo, me not making it so woo-woo, making it a little bit more practical, it's become more acceptable. And I'm glad scientists are finally caught up with us.
Yeah, the Buddhists have been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah.
I do it every morning, and I've actually made it part of my gym routine because, I go to the gym, 6 days a week when I'm not traveling, and go to the gym or go for a walk when I am traveling. But I'm not in this big lotus position. You sat in those classes, Sonia,
Yeah.
where they want us to turn ourselves into pretzels.
Yeah, lay on a bed of nails. No, I
Lay
don't
on a
do
bed of
that.
nails, whatever.
Yeah.
How can you do that? That's what I tell people. You can do, they go, oh, I can't meditate. Yeah, you can. Do you drive to work all the time? Yeah. Do you remember every little nick in the road and curve and all that? Yeah. Do you remember it every morning? Well, no, I just go out to work. You're meditating. You've gone into
Meditating.
alpha state.
That's right. Yeah.
So I do mine on a treadmill now.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be off the other side, or hitting the other side of the room.
Well, for me, I let the body just go. I let it
Mhm.
just walk itself. It can, it's the body itself can naturally operate without the mind. It is
That's
not
true.
required.
That's true. It is a little entity unto itself. That's for sure.
Exactly. So I just, let it go, that turn up my music. And of course, I don't meditate to the meditational music. I'm
Mm-hmm.
more meditating to like Black Sabbath, Iron Metal, Iron Banner, at
Mm-hmm.
heavy classical rock, a thump that matches the heartbeat. Gee,
Yeah.
why were they so popular?
Yeah.
And going before I know it, my little 60-minute program is done, and I'm ready to go on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think this year we're going to see more VR coming out. You know, like this morning, I apparently was running on the beaches of Hawaii in West Virginia at the gym because they've got like a screen thing now on our treadmills.
Virtual
And if you
reality.
don't
Okay.
look, if you just stare straight at the screen, it keeps up with your pace, and it's like you're running through on Maui. So
Wow.
I think we're going to be seeing some VR stuff coming out. What do you think, Sonia?
I'm. It's great. I take people on inner guidance where they actually experience all of that stuff, where they can smell things and feel things and such. So I guess it's quite interesting that it's funny. Um, we've moved up the chakras, and the 7 levels of the 7 levels of the 7 levels of the 7 levels, and the human race started off at the base chakra, survival, and we're moved into the third eye chakra. We were in the throat chakra, which is the industrial revolution and telephones and communication and and telepathy and such, and we've moved into the third eye. So virtual reality makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes absolute sense. It's just an external aspect of it for now, until we can actually project it with our own minds, maybe 50 years down the road.
Yeah. And I think that
Yeah.
it'll, redefine a lot of things that we do as an
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
because here's the facts. As technology has progressed, the psychic industry has progressed.
Mm-hmm.
When I started out, you dialed in,
Mm-hmm.
you had to dial in from a rotary phone.
Yes.
It had to be a Pacific rotary lined cord phone, no voicemail, no call waiting
That's
allowed.
right.
And
That's
you
right.
heard beep, and you'd give your user ID and your password to the operator, and then she'd tell, okay, we'll put you on hold, listen for your beep, and then you would wait for a client to call in, enter all their information to get a hold of you.
Wow.
Now, I mean, my goodness, we can be on a plane that has Wi-Fi and give
Mm-hmm.
readings.
Wow.
I say if we're still into business in 50 years, we'll be popping into people's homes.
Homes. Yeah.
It'll be like, okay, I'm going to go sit down in my recliner here and go to
I
Tennessee or go
see.
to
Yeah.
Japan or go to the moon and do a reading. I'll be back in 30 minutes and
Yeah.
do it all
Yeah.
by hologram.
Yeah. There's a wonderful book called The Magos of Strovolos. It's a story about a sage in Greece who had the ability to do that. So in the 70s, there was a comet that was coming towards Earth, going to hit Earth or something, and he went up to try and divert it because apparently it was heading directly collision with Earth. And the beings that were hanging out there told him that it wasn't his job to do. They've already got it handled and sent him back to Earth, And he would be, people would report that he would be in one place and they would see him. He would go to his client's house to do the whatever it is, you know, to do the healing or the reading or whatever he needed. So he passed away in not too long ago, late 90s. It was a real guy who, and he pulled in initiates and he was training them and such. So it's people are already doing it, which is very interesting.
Right. You know,
We just have to, sorry, we just have to stop being so busy living so we can focus and pull all that energy together.
Well, not only that, but we gotta get back to us, and because we get lost in us, and in the summer we get lost into soccer and baseball and kids sports and this and that and picnics and swimming and making appearances and doing this and being at this party and doing that. And the fall allows us to pull back in and really reconnect with ourselves, because then we go into the dark part. The fall starts the dark part of the year, and that's the part of the self. But people have been traveling and leaving the cars behind for a while. It's called astral traveling. I get reports sometimes of people going, "I saw you." And I'm like, "No, I ain't never been to your house." "Oh, yes, you were."
Yes.
And they swear, you were just standing there. And I'm like, "Okay, I guess."
Well, I again, in that period of time where I was going through this intensive experience, I knew, because I would go to places and I'd have this funny deja vu. So I knew I was traveling, but I couldn't prove it because we're not supposed to remember, right?
Right.
So I kept, before, when I went to bed, I would think, okay, I'm going to remember. And one morning about, I don't know, 4, I was heading back. I saw myself leaving New York because my mom and sisters are there. It was night. The stars were there. The stars were bright. And there was this cloud, and I thought, I knew it. And just as I thought it, the cloud came and covered it up, and it was gone. So it was very cool to have that experience. That, to me, that was proof of what you're just saying, that we do these things.
Right.
Yeah.
Sonia, we've got a question for you, because I've looked at this. Pug Mom wants to know. What do you see happening with karma for the owners of the mobile home community that she lives at?
She lives in a mobile home community.
Correct. And the owners aren't that nice to the members of the community. And she wants to know, basically, I'll break the question out a little bit more. When is Lady Karma coming to visit the owners? Or what do you think about that?
Okay, my grandmother always says, if you dig a hole for somebody, dig 2, because you might fall into it. So it's not about karma for the people. She's being forced to make a shift in her life. And that's why the events are happening. So she needs to think kindly on them so that kindness can visit her, Pug Mama.
Okay.
That's it, yeah. Because whatever karma they're supposed to get will occur, and unfortunately it will happen to them in exactly the way that they treated her. And I've seen that. My grandmother treated us, my grandfather terrorized us, and he died in terror, right? So like whatever a person does is visited upon them exactly, should they say in kind, exactly the same way. So Pug Mama needs to let go, back off, and know that whatever they've done to others will be done to them. Their lives aren't over yet.
Yeah, they get a lot of things to make up for.
Exactly. And so when it occurs, they will ask, oh my gosh, when is this? And maybe that will help change them. But yeah, so that's how the karma, in my experience, works. They're gonna have their moment. They're gonna have their moment. Yeah.
So Sonia, what are you doing this week?
Well, tomorrow's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I feel like the other day I thought, I feel like I'm 21 years old. It was very strange. It was very strange. I felt as if I'd reversed in age for some strange reason. I don't know why. Birthdays I never really focus on, but I'm focusing on it because it's coming up, and I think there's something peculiar, bizarre, because the number of my age adds up to 13, which is a number 4, which is my life path number. So something is happening in this year.
Right.
I'm going to orientation on Wednesday, tomorrow as well, for the meditation. Back to writing, got a few appointments, working on getting the show together. So yeah, it's like I put it on the calendar and I don't look at it until the day before. So I live in the moment, which is kind of strange. Yeah.
Well, and then you're going to be again over on Sunday?
On Sunday, I haven't done a show for a while. Because my young people here, one showed up at 3:15 in the morning, so I've been a little bit out of it. So next Sunday I may have a show. I do send out a weekly affirmation or mantra from my newsletter with a little bit of insight. And so Sunday mornings it goes out like clockwork at 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern time. So if people want to go to my website to sign up, they will get a free mantra, a free affirmation, I am beautiful, or something like that, that they carry for the rest of the week.
And where is your website, honey?
It's soniahaynes.com. So
sorry.
SONIAHAYNES.com.
And they also can get your books there.
Yes, my books are on amazon.com.ca. My Power of Money book is on, you can get it at the bookstores. If you go in and ask for it, they'll look it up and they'll order it in for you if they don't already have it. I have one book it's an ebook called Oneness, which basically talks about our journey. A lot of what we've been talking about. If you want to learn how to build a dream map so you can get your future clear, there's a book on that. And then there's also a book on affirmations. So, yeah.
When are you going to write the Emotional Healer book?
I'm working. See, that's the thing. I'm working on.
Because that's a new, there's not a lot of people that use that term. So I'm sure a lot of people are interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm working on it. And the emotional healing is about the process of relationship and how we go about attracting a relationship into our lives. It talks about living our lives, like Pug Mama was asking about the people in her community not being very nice, why we attract such individuals and what happens to them when they behave negatively. So we look at past life stories and such. So, a lot of the stuff that happens are linked to past lives, and we have to try hard to remember the story so that we don't repeat it. So yeah, that's why it's suggested that Pug Mama start thinking kindly on these people, because it's not just one-way karma. It goes in all directions. Yeah.
Well, from Pug Mama, she wishes you a happy birthday.
Thank you, sweetie.
This week I'm going to be doing the coffee shop, and I'm going to be doing conversations with Aeson, and I'll be possibly filling in. We'll see what goes on with Miss Divine. As y'all know, she's not doing well, and she's off recovering and healing up, and we're sending her all positive vibes. Miss Rainy Love hopefully will be with me with the coffee shop. We'll see. As you know, she's recovering from her bionic woman surgery, and she will be back with us soon. And also the cup is coming out, and it has an article in there from Miss Sonia, who is awesome. I love her writing style. Guys, check her stuff out. On this channel, you'll also notice that the Journey of the Fools Tarot class has been posted, lesson 3, and the handouts there. If you'd like to take part in that, it was posted earlier today. It's probably showing up over there or over there. I never know where this thing is compared to the camera. Like, share, and subscribe with us, and we'll talk with you guys next week. Thanks for joining us for Psychic Biz Love. Have a great week, y'all, and come on back and bring your coffee.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.